So, what happens when the predatory old man, sexual deviant, no moral having, non loyal man meets the low to no boundary, naive, innocent, barely legal teenager? I'll tell you what happens. Jonas and Lindani. Welcome back to the Pygmies of the Patriarchy, where we are finalizing our recap of the Netflix series, The Polygamist. And today we are talking about Lindani. This is Lindani, and she plays the role of Pume's friend and Jonas's mistress. Now, in the series, we don't know much about her background, but what we do know is that she works in her mother's bar. There's no mention of a father, and it seems that they come from the other side of the tracks, if you will. So you'll notice in the series that Lindani pretty much enjoyed herself when she was hanging out with Pume, enjoying the um, accommodations that come with having a friend that is from the wealthier side of town and has a more prominent family. Lindani does have a boyfriend, and at the same time, Minzy has an immense crush on Lindani. There is a scene I do recall, I believe they were in the middle of her mother's bar. She was talking to her boyfriend and just asking, do you ever see us making out of it here? Do you ever see yourself wanting more out of life than what this is? And he emphatically answers, like, no, this is good for me. I'm good with this. That answer did not work for Lindani. I mentioned that Minzy had a huge crush on her, and he was ready to, become that boyfriend, maybe fiance, husband, have kids together, whatever. But I mentioned this in the breakdown of Minzy, that he experienced extreme betrayal from his father by way of Lindani when they began their actual relationship. Now, Lindani was not interested in the younger Gamora. She had set her sights on the more older, moneyed Gamora. And in no way am I saying that Lindani um, just is this, barely legal adult that, just completely set her sights on Jonas. What I believe went on is, if you remember the flashback to the kitchen scene where Jonas is circling her like prey, basically, combined with, you see that Lindani wants more out of life, but you can also see that she comes from the lower class, but she wants more. She knows that there is more out there. And that's why I said combined, this was just a disaster waiting to happen. Now, young girls in Lindani's position that come from survival mode, when they cross paths with a predator such as Jonas, they become an easy target to showing them the good life, especially when, and again, like I said, this is just speculation because we don't know much about Lindani's upbringing. But if she did not have an emotional present father as well as a financially present father, then this is just a disaster waiting to happen. And oftentimes, not all the time, older men with money, status, power make it very hard for a younger girl that is in survival mode and wants a way out and a better life. They make it hard for them to turn that down. Remember in the scene where Jonas immediately invites her on a business trip where she is introduced to, oh my gosh, this man has a second home. There's room service. There's, thick, fluffy robes. This room is absolutely gorgeous. It's overlooking the water. For a young girl like her who had never been exposed to finer things like that, it was mind blowing. And also, don't forget the scene where they go to dinner and he shuts the entire restaurant down for her just for them to enjoy some time together. However, Lindani does learn that that does not come for free. And Jonas lets her know that via body language. This is not free. And this is why in my Miami video, I said it. When it comes to these type of transactional relationships, if you have low to no or shaky boundaries, you will get tested. And predators know exactly who their target is. Much like the characters, all of the characters in this show, there was great loss for Lindani. If you remember, she was pregnant by Jonas and she experienced a miscarriage in the hotel room all alone by herself. She could not get Jonas on the phone and she was solo. And might I add in there, Jonas was so sinister that he even went back and told her, "Oh, we'll have more babies." Anyway, also the loss of her friendship with Pume, because when all of this came out, there was not going to be a friendship. In addition to Menzie being completely pissed with her, but as we know, at the end of that series, he wasn't pissed enough to not sleep with her again, knowing something about her, which we'll get to in a second. And then lastly, the loss of the relationship with her boyfriend when he figured out that she was sleeping with a Gamora. Now, something interesting about this dynamic and something that is very common in this lifestyle is when the innocence was gone and the naivety wore off, Lindani's street sense kicked in. So when Jonas's health was on the decline and Lindani was able to get what she was wanting out of it, she got the lifestyle, she got the house, she had the car, she had the spending money. Lindani did not care about taking care of an old, sickly man. In her mind, that was for his wives to do. And that is exactly what they did. You had Essie bringing soup over. You had Joyce making declarations of, I'll care for you. You can come back home. Lindani was like, anyway, they got it covered because she did get a sneak peek into how Jonas liked to operate. And just like Matipa, she also knew she would not be the only one. Because remember the scene where they were having a party or they were at a party and Jonas was openly flirting with other women. And in a lot of cases, this lifestyle does have a heavy burden to it. So, Lindani, there was speculation throughout the series that she was responsible for being the start of the STI. Then there was also speculation around her possibly having HIV as well. So, this relationship quickly went to hell and was probably way more than what she bargained for. Then at the end of the series, we see Menzie do the unthinkable and giving you a glimpse into he did not learn from his father's sins. In fact, he is here to magnify them. And what did he do? He sleeps with Lindani at his father's funeral, knowing everything that he knew about his father and these mistresses and other wives, as well as why his health failed him at the end. Thank you so much for watching this series. This does wrap up all of my analysis of The Polygamist. If you enjoyed the spoilers because you have not seen it, please go watch it. It is worth it. You're probably going to be yelling at the camera. Now, up next, I mentioned at the beginning of this video that I want to talk more about survival mode, and I think that's why I saved Lindani for last, because Lindani's situation reminds me so much of the current topics around Woo Lady, tricking in Miami, being in survival mode, and some of the choices that it will have people making. And as always, it's not an excuse, it's an explanation. So I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you for tuning in.